Okay guys, welcome back to a new episode of the King of Weighted Calisthenics Coaching Cues podcast. This time, not with Lois, but he's here, he's behind the camera and laughing at us. This time with a special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself maybe?
Yes, hi there, my name is Oliver Lehmann. I'm 48 years old now.
48 years young.
Young, of course, young. Yeah. And I'm doing calisthenics since 2 years. And 1.5 years now in the coaching here by Michael from King of Weighted. I was doing calisthenics 6 months on my own, and that was definitely not good. So I choose to coach me.
Nice. So yeah, today Ollie was invited over because we will do a max out session today, as that's pretty nice to do here in our gym. And I took the opportunity to invite Ollie for a quick podcast episode. And yeah, you already introduced yourself. Can you tell us maybe a bit more about your sports background? So what are your roots? I mean, you are not the youngest man compared to our other clients at least, but you did a hell lot of different sports. Can you maybe tell us a bit so that our audience gets a glimpse of what you are doing?
Yeah, I was doing 25 years Wing Chun and martial arts.
Fighting.
It's martial arts, yes. Sometimes a bit of fitness, especially high rocks, you know. It's a kind of running and workout.
So that's like an endurance challenge.
Yeah, it's comparable with CrossFit a bit. And when the lockdown was there, I decided to do calisthenics. I saw some skills like planche, front lever, L-sit on the ground. And I decided to do a L-sit on the ground, and that's the beginning of all.
And then you fell in love with the sport?
Yeah, because it was very challenging me. It was very hard. It looks easier than it is in reality.
Yeah, I can actually remember when we had the second call we had, where we took a look at your Instagram and also at some of the videos you sent me. You sent me a full front lever and a straddle planche on the floor. Was like pretty proud already on the full front lever, which in fact was an L-sit. And the straddle planche was kind of like some call it like the turtle planche or bent arm planche. Like I don't know if there's a name for it, but if you look back at this now, what do you feel like thinking that this, like, what do you think about the Ollie that thought that he could do a front lever and a planche back in the days without knowing how the elements are actually performed?
I know your first sentence you told me, as I told you, I want to learn the planche. You said, remember, planche is a bitch.
That sounds like me.
And it's if I compare the Ollie now with the older Ollie, I would say it's much better now. Of course, technical, much better, and the skills in my head are how could I say are not so.
You can say it in German, maybe you can translate it.
Vollständiger jetzt.
So you have a better impression of how it should look like, how it should feel like, and what you actually need to do.
Especially the feeling is.
Yeah. Good. And looking back at, like, I mean, you were on a pretty good level already. Like, you were a calisthenics beginner, but not a fitness beginner. So you already had a pretty decent physique. You had a decent amount of muscle. You could do already some weighted pull-ups, some weighted dips. So you could say you actually made a decent amount of progress on your own.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to join a coaching back then, considering that you actually made good progress on your own?
I realized very quickly that the risk of injuries is very high. And I saw videos from you on Instagram, which were really good, explained by technique and verhindern, Verletzungen, avoiding injuries. And that was the reason I choose King of Weighted.
In your case, it was the pull-up that you had the pain on the top position.
Yeah, right. The pull-up, and especially by doing planche, pain in the shoulders and the forearms.
The pain drove you in our coaching, basically.
Not the pain only, because I like your explainings. It was, for me, very good to understand what you're meaning.
Nice. Okay. I wrote down a couple of questions here that I like to ask you. As you are now 1.5 years a client of our coaching, what would you say were the key learnings that you take away? Maybe we can start more general, and then we can also go through your goals as we, unlocked a couple of elements, or also some not, and go through the key learnings element by element. But in general, what do you feel did we teach you the best?
The main thing is patience.
That's not the best marketing here.
No, because I thought it was really easy to learn the skills, and I had to realize that it isn't easy. It's very hard work. It's discipline, and it's you just make little steps. And that's the thing I have to, or where I have to manage myself, not to take too big steps, but doing it all by smaller steps. So I, need the patience. And you told me once the sentence, it takes the time as it takes.
Yeah. So, giving you my point of view on that is that you probably just highly underestimated how difficult some of those elements are, because you just knew it from Instagram, from YouTube, and there are a lot of strong guys making full planches look absolutely effortless.
Yeah, or dips, for example.
And if someone tries, that has no experience with planche, just tries to lean into it, it is impossible.
Yeah.
I can do a full planche, and if I would jump cold into a full planche now, it would feel impossible.
Yeah.
Because it's so much stress, so much force that you need. It's so hard. And I think if you cannot relate to how much power you actually need, and now we can talk about the numbers a bit later. Now you have an amazingly strong dip. You can almost dip your body weight, pretty close to your own body weight, added on the chain. And now we're getting closer to the ability of holding a free straddle planche.
Yeah.
And just to give the power estimations that you really need to be able to have a full planche. Good. So first key learning was patience.
Yes.
Anything else that you feel like?
Yes. Weighted calisthenics is a very important part. It's very good for assistance, for the skills. And it's very important to have a straight or a clear plan to know what you're doing. Not doing a planche a bit here and doing a pull-up there. It's more like a system.
Yeah. So maybe for the audience, we used basically a system that we like to call the progress backup. Explained it to you also a couple of times. Especially with very, very advanced elements, they can be very frustrating. It's hard to see progress. We spend probably half a year extending your hips by 10 to 15 centimeters from like a tucked 90 to a tucked 120 degree. And from week to week, you might be able to extend like half of a centimeter, but that is something you cannot feel. It's something you also cannot really see from the videos. And then to see if we're doing everything right, if the program works, we need something to quantify progress. And in your case, we use the dip. And as long as we knew the dip is getting stronger, like you can do more reps on the same weight, or you can do more weight on the same reps and so on. So we knew, okay, you're getting stronger. That means patience in the skills. We're doing the work. We know you're getting stronger. It just takes time.
Yes.
So until you reach the next level, and that is the system we use a lot in your case, to just make progress more measurable, make it visible also for you, which probably, let's make a step to another question, because that might fit in here pretty good, and that is how often you thought about giving up on certain skills. So I remember at least 10 times, probably, that you thought, or like you wrote me, fuck it, I don't want to do the planche anymore.
Yeah. It very often seems so impossible, because there were several times frustrating me doing the planche, doing the tuck planche, and it's what you just tell. It's about, you can't feel the progress in a planche, but you can feel the progress in a dip, while I'm doing dips with more weight. So to realize that this progress is there, because I'm doing my tuck planche and doing the weighted dip with more weight, it's also progress. So that's the main thing to realize and to.
What was your least favorite skill in the time? I already knew the answer, but
it's planche.
No, I think there is one that really frustrated you even more.
What made me frustrated me at the front lever. And
something even more, where you had your biggest rage. I think it was just 3 to 4 weeks ago.
You mean my handstand?
The handstand push-up.
Yeah, the handstand push-up. Yes. Okay, yeah.
So now we covered it all. It's the king of rated frustration coaching.
There were so many skills frustrating me. So I have to choose the right one.
Actually, the only one that really came super easy to you and progressed from the first day on since forever was the dragon flag.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know why, but this came so easy. We like loaded up to 5 kg for reps. That was like I can't do that. So that's also the only element you got in advance of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to know.
Good.
This comes maybe from the martial arts, because we had
maybe
much.
Then let's talk about the different skills. Like, you came to us, biggest goals were front lever and planche.
Yeah.
That was like the number one thing that you wanted to achieve. And secondary, I think we had handstand push-up, if it fits.
Yeah.
And also secondary was like other stuff like muscle ups. And I think at the beginning we also had the back lever. I don't know if we ever talked about it, but that was something like you probably can do a back lever. I don't know if did you test it somewhere?
Yeah.
And you can do it
5 to 8 seconds.
Yeah, easy. That's like the power of the dips coming in. So let's cover some of the key learnings. Let's start with the most difficult element that we're still training for, which is the planche.
Yeah.
So for everyone, you started the coaching 1.5 years ago with an okayish tuck planche with knees fully tucked to the chest.
Yeah.
And we are now working with a tucked straddle with a bit more than 90-degree extended hips, and straddle planche with medium band.
Yep.
That is what we achieved in this time. And what do you think were the key learnings of the planche?
Yeah, to have the hips in the right position.
Yeah.
That's at first the protraction, and then the hips, the right position of the hips.
I think at the beginning we also had some straight arm struggles, if I remember correctly, like really fully extending.
Yeah. Okay, to stretch
Because
the
the
whole arm,
load on the biceps
Yeah.
was a bit hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
Nice, but I think also that was the most difficult part. Is definitely the alignment.
Yeah.
So keeping it parallel to the floor. And if you think about the front lever, what were your key learnings there?
To keep the retraction in the shoulder, and I think that was the main problem.
Or at least pulling into retraction.
Yeah.
If you don't end up there, that's totally fine. And you often talked about, when we had our feedback calls, about that at a certain point you had the first time where you understood how you can really exert force in that position. Can you describe what you mean by that for the audience?
Yeah, it's to have the right idea of pulling and keep the whole body tight, you know, of keeping the butt, the glutes squeezed, the legs on under extension, and
that is also where you are a pretty visual learner. I think, like I often like draw you pictures in the feedbacks and explaining you, okay, look, this muscle needs to pull in this direction. And you're sitting there like, it's actually that easy. I just need to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And then often by that visual learning, you then also performed way better in the training, because often you just really had no idea. Like you knew exactly how it should look like, but your body wasn't doing what you intended to do. So I think that was something that was very, very helpful with your progress.
Definitely
visually showing you what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely an important thing, the visual examples you gave me.
Yeah, because I think if I would just give you a tutorial, probably you haven't got any advantage of this. Good. Then what else? The handstand. That was, let's call it your kryptonite. We probably need to say that, like the audience watching it from YouTube can see what I'm doing now, but Ollie's external rotation, I'm not lying, was if he would stand straight and externally rotate, we probably had this much of range of motion. So very, very little. Like he was, like, I don't want to use swear words, but that was very, very limited. And so I think first half year was really just creating end ranges with your shoulder mobility, with your external rotation mobility, and stabilizing that end ranges. And we're still continuing with the progress, but much more advanced now. And that was, I think, also for you, something very frustrating to accept that you need to do such fundamental things first. Being able to learn a bridge. Being able to just externally rotate the shoulder, like something that feels basic for the most, was very hard work for you.
I remember one special problem. I can't do my arm behind my back as I started here, like this. It hurts in my shoulder, and now it's...
like imagine, like that's a basic movement.
Basic movement, but for me it was impossible, and now...
Do you know where this came from? That you were like very, very stiff?
I think wakeboarding was one of the...
Because you always had the arms stiff in front.
Stiff in front, and and doing wrong pull-ups, always this way.
So with the shoulders rolling forward and the elbows coming back.
And much bench press.
Good. Then can you give me some of? Let's start with the negative. What were like, if you take a look at the 1.5 years of working with me, what were the lowlights? So what was like the point where you were like really on your lowest?
It's nearly impossible for me to say something in this direction, because it was always positive for me, always. Coaching always was positive. If I was down, you say, hey, come on, do it like this, do it like this. And
I also can't remember that you had a really like a bad phase. Like you had bad days, as everyone has. You sometimes talked yourself into demotivation.
Yes.
But rarely. Like looking at your execution standards, your motivation standards, you perform like on a pro level. Like that is something that was for me very, very nice to see. Like you never skipped a session on purpose.
No.
Never ever in 1.5 years, like only if you were hurt, if you were sick, or if really something very, very important was there, but you never skipped it on purpose because it was late, you were tired, and I think you have a fulfillment rate of over 90%.
Yeah.
So like every training that I assigned you, like really trained that over 90%.
Yeah.
And that is rare. Like that is top notch, definitely. Considering that you have a working schedule, that you have family, that you have other hobbies, that is very, very impressive. So that was definitely one of my highlights in working with you, that you were always on point, always delivering. And what I love is that you also used the coaching. Like, you know,
Yes.
I mean, I want to talk about training. I want to help, and you really, like, you were asking for it, and that gives me also the feeling of being very helpful, which makes the work very very nice for me. Because if I have a client that is not communicating with me, like, I mean, he can still make good results, but there's no connection, like, you know, and having, like, I don't need to be friends with my clients, but it's nice to have a relationship, at least around the training. Good. As we didn't find big lowlights, what were like your highlights? I mean, I have a lot of voice messages for you with like click moments and very, very happy moments. That was like, we had a lot of small highlights, but do you remember maybe a certain moment where you said, Michael? Nice.
Generally, I would say the one highlight is that you are always reachable for me. So, I can wrote you the whole time. It's 24/7 coaching.
Yeah, we had a small cut as the memory card was full. And so we are just repeating the last part. So the last thing that we talked about before we had the cut was your highlights. And the next question that I had, and that I want you to be very, very honest with. So yeah, it's really just important that the audience hears your real opinion on it, as it's very important for athletes out there that are thinking about a coaching to really have like, an opinion on that. And that is, as you now paid for 1.5 years of our coaching, and you take a look at the investment side, so how much money you paid and what you got out of it, would you say, like looking at the time, that was worth the money?
Yeah, definitely yes. For my opinion, it's you can't get a better coaching, and it's every euro I paid, it's definitely the.
It's worth it.
Worth
hopefully.
it. Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Very heartwarming moment. Definitely. That was not scripted, so that was hopefully that was your opinion.
Yes.
And like, what would you say if we take a look at, we try to quantify the investment? Like, what got you out of it?
Definitely more than I paid. because I do I had very much benefit for my healthiness, for my mobility.
Yeah.
And
you can show your new skill again.
I can't do at the beginning this movement, and now.
So for the ones that are listening on Spotify, he's just like touching his back, basically, like moving the hand behind the back.
Yeah.
Which requires some rotation in the shoulder, and that was not possible before the coaching.
And with pain.
Or it was possible, but with pain. That is now working, and of course, the skills.
Yeah, definitely the skills, yes.
Nice. Then, do you have any last words if you are now speaking to the whole King of Weighted audience? You maybe want to greet someone or just, spread some love, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I would like to say, if you are thinking about a coaching by King of Weighted, just do it. You will never regret, I promise.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. Now, hopefully it was recorded.
Bitte.
Okay, as you can see on the different lighting, it's a bit later now, and we do need to correct a few things that we said because we just had our max out session, and you are no longer an athlete that needs a band for the straddle planche. Congratulations.
Yeah, damn right.
So what happened?
It's a King of Weighted magic in this hall.
Headquarter magic, yeah. So on your birthday, congratulations. You made yourself the best present.
Definitely,
and that was the first ever free straddle planche.
Yeah, full straddle planche.
So yeah, full straddle planche.
Huh?
I mean, full straddle planche. But yeah, very, very nice. So just wanted to correct this. We also had a 70 kg dip.
Yep.
35 kg pull-up. And as we said, a decent full front lever with a bit of a hip hinge. Like very, very little. Needs some work, but I think that was a pretty successful max out today.
Yes, absolutely.
And 1.5 years planche work now finally paid off in the first straddle planche hold. It was, by the way, 2 seconds of a hold that we had, which we haven't expected. Like we went from heavy band, medium to light, and light worked so good that we said, okay, come on, let's test the free one, which was not planned. And it worked. It worked. So just wanted to add this, and now really see you in the next episode.